Morning, Sindhu. Morning, Steve. I already had some connection issue, so be prepared just in case there is some kind of problem that arises. I have no idea why my phone is having connection issues in a very crowded and populous suburb near a city. Usually I have those issues when I'm more in the rural areas, but it's the way it is. All right. We'll give it another minute or two for people to arrive, and then we'll get started. Morning, Audrey and John. What? Morning, Bella and Gautam. As I was saying before, my phone, I think, is having a few issues this morning. So if there's connection issues, it should be expected. Can you still hear me? Because I see 0 people on, which, I mean, I know that usually is not really reliable, but I just want to check anyway. Okay, all right. So let's get started then. We'll get started with our precepts on page 9. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tisaranaгаmanang sampunang. Panatipata veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Kame sumicchachara veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Sura Merya Majjapamaddatana Veramani Sikapadang Samadhiyami. Tisaranenna sadding panchasilang dhammang samadhayatva sadhukang surakatang katva appamadena sampadeta bang. Silena sukating yanti, silena bhoga sampada, silena nibbuting yanti, tasma silang visodaye. Page 23. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vidya charana sampano sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhammasarati satta deva manusanang buddho bhagavati svakato bhagavata dhammo sanditiko akaliko ehipassiko panayako pacchatang veditabbo vinyuhiti Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sango Ujupatipanno bhagavato savaka sango Nyayapatipanno bhagavato savaka Sango Samichi Patipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sango Yadidang Chattari Purissa Yugani Yatta Purissa Puggala Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sango Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakkaneyo Anjali Karaniyo Anuttarang Punya Katang Lokasati Buddho susuddho karuna mahannavo yo chanta suddha baranyana lochano lokassa papu pakilesa gatako vandami buddhang ahammadarena tang Namo te purisa janya namo te purisuttama sadeva kasming lokasming natti te patipuggalo Dhammo padipo viyatassu sattuno yo maggapaka matabeda pinnako Lokuttaro yo chadharatta dipano vandami dhammang ahammadarena tang Yo cha dhammam abhinyaya dhammamanyaya pandito Rahado vanyavato cha nejo vupasammati Yesang dhamma asamutta parivade sunaniyare Te sambuddha sammadanya charanti visame samang Ye kechio sadha loke vijanti vividha bahu Dhammo sada samangnati etang pivata bhikkhavo Dhammo sadang pivitvana ajara maranasiyong bhavayitva chapasitva nibbhuta upadikaye Sango suketta byatikette sanneto yoditta santo sugatana bodhako Lolapahino ariyo sumedaso vandami sangang ahammadarena tang Suko buddhanamupado sukha sadhamma desana Sukha sangassa samaggi samagganang tapo suko Pahungve saranang yanti pabbatani vanani cha Arammarukka chatyani manusa bayatajjita Netang ko saranang kemang, netang saranang uttamang, netang saranang agamma sabbadukka pamuchyati. Yocha buddhancha dhammancha sanghancha saranang gato chattari arya satchani sammappanyaya passati. Dukkam dukkha samuppadang dukkassa cha atikkamang aryanchitangikam maggam dukkupasamagamminang. Etang ko saranang kemang etang saranang uttamang etang saranang agamma sabba dukkha pamuchyati. Imaya dhamma nu dhamma patipattiya buddhang pujemi. Pujemi. Imaya dhamma nu dhamma patipattiya sanghang pujemi. Mano pubangama dhamma manosetta manomaya manasa che paduttena basati va karoti va tato nang dukkam manveti chakkang va vahato padang. Mano pubangama dhamma manosetta manomaya manasa che pasanena basati va karoti va tato nang sukhaman veti chaya va anapayani. Anicca vata sankhara upada vayadhamino upajitva nirujjanti te sangvupasumo sukho sabba papassa akaranang kusalasu upasampada sachitta paryoda paramang tapotitika nibbanang paramang vadanti buddha nahi pabbajito parubhagati samanohoti parang vihetayanto. Anupavado anupagato pati moke cha sangvaro matanyuta cha batasming pantancha sayanasanang arichitte cha ayogo etang buddhana sasanang. Imina punya kamena upajaya gunuttara achari upakara cha mata pita piya mamang Suryo Chandimaraja Gunavanta Nirapicha Brahma Mara cha Inda cha Lokapala cha Devata Yamo Mitta Manusa cha Majhata Verika Picha Sabbe Satta Sukhi Hontu Punyani Pakatani Me Sukang cha Tividhang Dentu Kepang Pa Petu Vo Matang Himena punya kamena himena udisena cha kipahang sulabhe cheva tanupadana chedanang ye santane hina dhamma yava nibbana to mamang nasantu sabbada eva yata jato bhave bhave ujicetto satipanyo sale ko viryavamino Mara labantuno kasang katuncha viriesume Buddha di pavaro nato dhammo nato varuttamo nato pachekka sambuddho sangho nato taro mamang te so tamanubhavena maro kasang labantuma Imena punya kamena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya Dukkha patta chane dukkha, bhaya patta chane bhaya, sokha patta chane sokha, hontu sabbe pipaniyo. Pavagupadaya avici hattato etantare sattaka yupapanna. Rupi arupi cha asanya sanya no dukkha pamuchantu pusantu nibbuting. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right. Secondary chanting. Page 197. Chakku vinyanang loke piyarupang satarupang ette satanha pahiyamana pahiyati. Etta nirujyamana nirujyati sota vinyanang loke piyarupang satarupang ette satanha pahiyamana pahiyati. Etta nirujyamana nirujyati ghana vinyanang loke piyarupang satarupang ette satanha pahiyamana pahiyati. Etta nirujyamana nirujyati jivha vinyanang loke piyarupang satarupang ette satanha pahiyamana pahiyati. Etta nirujyamana nirujyati kaya vinyanang loke piyarupang satarupang ette satanha pahiyamana pahiyati. Etta nirujyamana nirujyati manovinyanang loke piyarupang satarupang ette satanha pahiyamana pahiyati. Etta nirujyamana nirujyati Chakku sampasso loke piyarupang satarupang ette satanha pahiyamana pahiyati. Yatta nirujyamana nirujyati sota sampasso loke piyarupang satarupang ette satanha pahiyamana pahiyati. Etta nirujyamana nirujyati ghana sampasso loke piyarupang satarupang ette satanha pahiyamana pahiyati. Etta nirujyamana nirujyati jivha sampasso loke piyarupang satarupang ette satanha pahiyamana pahiyati. Yatta nirujyamana nirujyati kaya sampasso loke piyarupang satarupang ette satanha pahiyamana pahiyati. Yatta nirujyamana nirujyati mano sampasso loke piyarupang satarupang ette satanha pahiyamana pahiyati. Etta nirujyamana nirujyati. All right, English. And just like as we have before, when we went through the internal, the I, the external, the form, and now we go to the I consciousness, the sun's consciousness. Same framework as we did before, except for now we're talking about where craving is ceasing and abandoning. I consciousness has a pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. It is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. It is here that it ceases when it ceases. Ear consciousness has a pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. It is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. It is here that it ceases when it ceases. Nose consciousness has a pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. It is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. It is here that it ceases when it ceases. Tongue consciousness has a pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. It is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. It is here that it ceases when it ceases. Body consciousness has a pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. It is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. It is here that it ceases when it ceases. Mind consciousness has a pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. It is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. It is here that it ceases when it ceases. And so when we have meeting of the three, the I, the form, and I consciousness, what we have is eye contact has a pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. It is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. It is here that it ceases when it ceases. Ear contact has a pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. It is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. It is here that it ceases when it ceases. Nose contact has a pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. It is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. It is here that it ceases when it ceases. Tongue contact has a pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. It is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. It is here that it ceases when it ceases. Body contact has a pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. It is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. It is here that it ceases when it ceases. Mind contact has a pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. It is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. It is here that it ceases when it ceases. All right. Continuing on with our thought of the day and our final moments here together this morning. Finishing up, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, we are finishing up finally after half a month. We've been with, this is number, I think, 16, that we've gone through the Aryo Etangako Mago, which is good though. We should analyze the Noble Eightfold Path in some detail, so that's good. We're going to be on page 63, the final tetrad, the final 3 lines on the bottom. Sukhassa chapahana dukkhassa chapahana pubbeva somanassa domanasana ngatangama adukkanga sukkang upekka sati parisudding chattu jahanang upasampadja viharati. With the abandoning of pleasure and pain, with the previous disappearance of joy and grief, one enters and dwells in the fourth jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure, purity of mind and equanimity. Morning, friends. So we see here on our journey to go ever more refined and subtle into into the jhanas, into deep, more subtle, refined mind states. What do we have here? Remember, we dropped Vitaka and Vichara by the second one. We dropped Piti by the third one. Our sukha, our sukha based on what the pleasant contentment was based on first seclusion, and then concentration, and then equanimity. By the third, Piti is gone, but we still had some sukha. And now, fourth jhana. What do we have? Pain and pleasure, gone. Mental pain and pleasure, physical pain and pleasure, gone. Mental pain and pleasure, that's somanasa, domanasa, gone. Likes and dislikes, gone. Equanimity, upekkasati, equanimity and mindfulness. Neither pain nor pleasure. That is what's left. And so the Buddha explains to us that, and Bhante Ji, if you ever hear Bhante Ji, like at a jhana retreat, talk about the fourth jhana, it's quite amazing. At least it was almost 10 years ago now when I heard it. But this is a state where, if you think about it, right, all the things, our likes and our dislikes, our pain and our pleasure, all of these things color, delude how we view the world, how we see things. And yet, in the fourth jhana, we're able to get to the state where temporarily, you're not awakened yet. These are only temporarily suppressed. And once they're temporarily suppressed, it's like, whoa! It's like you've been, it's like your whole life you've been looking at, like you're watching a TV from like the 80s, like the resolution, and then you go to these like ultra whatever 4K, 8K. My mind, when I'm in places where there's TVs and these like really like high definition TVs, my eyes haven't adjusted to it to be normal yet, so it looks weird still for me to when I see these like ultra HD whatever TVs. But anyway, this is the simile is, the point is this. All of a sudden, once you're in fourth jhana, it's like you're seeing 4K Ultra HD, and you see things that you didn't see before. It wasn't clear. This is why the Buddha tells us that one who is concentrated, one who is still, one who is tranquil, sees things as they really are. This is the whole purpose of jhana in the Buddhist dispensation. Not to be blissed out, not to escape from our pain and pleasure, right? And chill out in jhanas, but to use jhanas as a vehicle for insight. When we are in the deepest jhanas, we are at the pinnacle of the mind state of samatha, a tranquil mind. And remember, the Buddha says that samatha and vipassana go together. A swift pair of messengers. So when you have samatha, a deeply tranquil, still mind, then naturally you see things. Not only can you say, okay, now I have this still mind, let me use it and let me actively see things, but all of a sudden things just pop up. I've had this in my own experience, and I haven't been in the fourth jhana. But the more calm and clear and tranquil your mind, things, you just didn't see them before. And then all of a sudden you start to see them. You're like, whoa, oh, okay. That's interesting. Right? And so this is the importance of the jhana. This is why the fourth jhana is the pinnacle of where you can see things as they are. To see what? To see the three characteristics of existence. Anicca, instability, undependability, impermanence. To see dukkha, suffering, stress, unsatisfactoriness. To see anatta, not self, soullessness. These are the three things when one sees with the mind state of vipassana. One sees the three characteristics of existence. And one sees the three characteristics of existence, one can be freed through insight and through wisdom. And so, friends, today we end the Noble Eightfold Path. And next 2 days, so we'll finish out the week with dependent origination and dependent cessation. So, friends, I wish you a very spiritually successful and peaceful day. Sukhi Hotu, may you be happy. Practice well and be well. See you tomorrow.